What is up? Welcome to the Will to Power podcast. I am your host, Bronze Age Midget. Very happy to have you along. Today I have a short audio essay on leftist so-called morality and how shallow it is, and comparing that to the righteous, real morality of real men. So let's get right into it, and I'll see you on the other side. One of the things you'll notice quite frequently when it comes to the far left is that their whole morality is fake and gay. It's more or less pretension. It's the notion that opinions, ideas, and sometimes words are the primary basis of moral character. Of course, this is quite convenient, since it allows them to feel good about themselves based on something as paper-thin as ideas and words. They believe that their opinions are unique and exceptional. Even if this is the case, it doesn't make a solid foundation for morality. In effect, the white leftoid sense of morality goes something like this. White people are bad, except for me, because I'm telling you that white people are bad. As you can see, it's 100% fake and gay. This, of course, covers up for the notion that most people are roughly similar. In terms of moral character, there's a certain averageness that is conditioned by society and culture, oftentimes the stage of a culture's life. And that's what most people fall into in terms of their ethics. Of course, there's a small percentage, 10%, who are off the rails to some extent, and an even smaller percentage that are completely psychotic and prone to violent and criminal behavior. There's good people as well, but most people within a society or culture are pretty similar. They kind of have an average or middling ethical character. So despite the obsessive focus on abstract ideas, leftist thinking is entirely uncreative and unimaginative, and it moreover lacks any practical sense. They can think of no other basis for morality besides their opinions and ideas, which of course they get to determine the merit of. And this is all contrasted with Aristotelian virtue ethics. Aristotle saw morality as existing within a golden mean of behavioral characteristics. So, for example, beauty, it fell between ugliness and disregard for aesthetics on one hand, and vanity on the other. Or honesty was situated between deceitfulness and brashness. Or grace was between control and carelessness. But fundamentally, these are all based not on ideas, but rather on routine daily actions that formed habits and, most importantly, one's character. That is to say that Aristotle, and almost all great thinkers, saw action as the fundamental element of moral and ethical theory, not cheap talk and idle opinions. Going one step further, we can say that ethics has an adaptive component. The thing that is good is what generally promotes long-term success, either on the individual or collective level. Adaptiveness indicates that we live in a competitive world in which people and groups must change in order to thrive in an often tumultuous natural environment, or simply due to pressures from other social and cultural groups. When looked at in this light, it's not hard to see why some form of virtue ethics forms the basis of the cultural understanding of morality for most great societies throughout history. This notion of adaptive ethics as taking up personal actions and behavior to build a character that leads to success, both on an individual and collective level, is starkly contrasted to the leftoid parody morality. And we can see the individual result of this in people's lives, right? It's almost a cliche to note how leftists have terrible lives that are completely disorganized and fraught with independence on either their parents or the state. And it's entirely due to their individual precarity and their individual lack of being able to take care of themselves, for the most part. And leftists will typically say, well, people who are on the lower end of the social scale of the economic hierarchy, they'll gravitate towards leftism. But in reality, this is something of a chicken or the egg sort of scenario, is it not? We could just as easily argue, and probably more convincingly argue, that leftist ideas themselves inhibit people from being conscientious or self-developing themselves, from taking adaptive behaviors and habits that lead to their own success in life. So, leftist organizations and cultures typically operate on a cult-like manner in which a few people have ultimate authority and cannot be questioned because, of course, they have the best ideas, or at least they're said to have the best ideas, and not necessarily because they have the best personal character. And this, of course, opens itself up to weird predatory behavior, like Vush trying to use his status to emotionally manipulate some of his fans to send him nudes. This is a weird power move, and it's indicative of the sort of abuse that can occur within the supposedly ultra-moral woke culture. And because their morality is entirely ideological, there are numerous internal divisions and splits in which portions of the left will grandstand as bearers of the opinions of the quote-unquote real left, while accusing others among them of somehow being outside of their own fake ethical standards. So nothing I'm saying is going to convince the leftists of anything. Simply put, their politics are deeply, deeply connected to their own ego, and they are merely a vehicle for them to find meaning in the world. If you're not on the left, then you've probably read Viktor Frankl. And he states it pretty clearly. And I think that's what is happening to some extent with leftists, or to a large extent with leftists. And they're looking for meaning in the world, combine that with ego attaching to their own ideas, and you get some pretty pretentious people. So, the point being is, whenever you're arguing against leftist politics, you're not arguing against just ideas. You're arguing against their identity. And that's why you will never convince them of anything, for the most part. And this is also precisely what makes leftists and their morality so fake and so fucking gay. Yo, thanks for listening to the Will to Power podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment. Let me know what you liked. If you disagreed with something, or if you had something that just piqued your curiosity, let me know. Otherwise, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will catch you next time.